Hi yogis, this is Julie from Totally Holistic Health and welcome to this Asteya practice that we're going to do today. We were talking about Asteya earlier in the group, and we were discussing about the fact that Asteya really is to do with non-stealing and having gratitude for what you actually have. So I thought it would be really nice to do a practice that's really with using familiar postures and familiar asanas that you are actually aware of and you probably have done before, and just to really gain that confidence in the fact that you can achieve a really nice yoga practice. You don't have to do fancy stuff. It's just really being grateful for your body and the fact that you're actually moving and the fact you're actually getting on the mat. So it's really just taking just really showing you that appreciation of what your body can actually achieve. So there's nothing fancy, there's nothing that you haven't practiced before. It's just a really gentle, nice gratitude practice we're going to do today. So we're going to start off in a seated position. So again, if it's uncomfortable to have the legs crossed, you can have your legs out in front of you, or if you want to, you can just come onto your knees and just come into hero pose. But again, it really depends on how you're feeling. If you want to have crossed legs but you find your hips are quite tight and your knees are right up here, it's quite nice just to bring a couple of blankets underneath your bottom just to raise the pelvis up a little bit, so it will just drop those knees down a little bit so you won't feel quite so crushed up a little bit, and it gives you more of an upright posture. So just get yourself nice and comfortable. So just bring those shoulders down away from the ears, drawing the head over the heart and the heart over the pelvis. Just taking a few moments here, just allow everything to settle. I think it's quite important to, at the start of a practice, just to really allow yourself just to ground down and maybe actually set an intention for what you actually want to achieve. So whether it be gratitude or whether it would just be, just being thankful for being on the mat and actually moving the body around is a really nice thing to maybe offer for this practice. So we're going to start off with something called a square breath. Now, square breath is it's a really good visual breath that you can actually do, and it's basically we're going to be breathing in 4 different ways. We're going to be breathing in for a count of 4. We're going to be holding that breath for a count of 4. We're going to be breathing out for a count of 4, and then retaining that out breath for a count of 4. So it's like imaginary square. So I always find it's quite nice to visualise it on the torso as well. So having the breathing in from the bottom right hand, so you're breathing in for a count of 4, holding that breath for a count of 4. Then you're breathing out for a count of 4, and then retaining that out breath for a count of 4, and then just continuing that breath. If you suffer from anxiety or have asthma, it's probably just advisable not to hold the breath at all, just breathing in and breathing out. But you can still use that 4 count, so breathing in for 4, breathing out for 4, in for 4, out for 4. So let's just take a few moments to get ourselves settled. So again, if you want to visualise it with your torso, or you can want to visualise it just counting on your fingers, is quite nice. That's quite a nice way of counting as well, using different mudras there for that. So starting off, so we're going to breathe it in for a count of 4. Holding. Out breath. And holding. Breathing in, holding, breathing out, and holding, in, hold, out, hold. 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 In. Out. Maybe one more round each. And then slowly coming back to normal breathing. It's quite nice, that practice. Again, it's quite nice to be able to regulate the breath as well. It's really, really, if you suffer from stress and you tend to find you shallow breathe a lot, that's a really nice one to try, just to really get yourself back to breathing in a nice, structured way. So we're going to start off on our backs. So knees bent first of all. So slowly we're going to bring the right knee into the chest. Now you can straighten out that left leg if you want to. Okay, this is your practice, so if you want to do something a little bit different, you can keep that knee bent if that feels more comfortable for you. There's no necessity to straighten it. And also if you want to, you can just see if you can bring your nose up towards your right knee, using the core, or you can just keep the head down. And then if you've got the head up, just bringing that down now. So we're going to bring the right knee over towards the left. So just very gently using the left hand just to draw that leg over to the left side. So try to make sure your shoulder blades are staying nice and level with the floor, actually engaged with the floor. So you're just bringing the lower half of the body round to the left. Also be really mindful of your lower back. If it feels a little bit tight or if it's starting to hurt, just release up a little bit. Shouldn't be causing yourself any pain. So where that awareness comes into your practice, just having that awareness of what you can and can't do, not forcing self into doing something that does feel uncomfortable and will hurt. Gently coming back to centre, drawing that right knee into the chest. And then we're going to swap legs, so bring the left knee in. So again, the right knee can be bent or it can be straight, drawing the left knee in. And again, if you want to, you can bring that nose up towards the knee. At all times keeping that breath really steady and lowering that head back down. And then we're going to bring the leg over, the left leg over to the right. So just using that right arm just to very gently coax it over to the right. So again, making sure that your left shoulder blade stays nice and engaged with the floor, drawing that leg over. And then gently, slowly coming back to centre, drawing that knee in towards the chest. Okay, so we're going to bring both feet now onto the floor, so bending the knees. I'm going to come into a gentle bridge, which is a nice counter pose for something where you're bringing the knees into the chest, you go in the opposite way. So again, it doesn't really matter how close into the body you bring your knees, or bring your feet, should I say. If you want to bring them slightly further away, that's fine. If you want to bring them slightly closer, again, it really depends on you and your body dynamics and the geometry of your body. So what we're going to do now is imagine that your pelvis is going to sort of like tilt up towards the ceiling. So you're almost like pushing the lower back into the floor. And then what we're going to do, we're going to push down with the feet and then just see if you can raise your bottom off the floor. So it doesn't matter how far up, it can be a couple of inches, so you can just bring it a little bit higher. But again, whatever happens, if there's any pain or discomfort anywhere, just allow yourself just to come back down again. Trying to keep the head nice, the back of the neck nice and long, keeping the head in the same place. Bring the hands by the sides to give you a bit of support. And then slowly releasing back down. So just bringing one of the vertebrae down at a time. So just feel this up just very gently. Easing slowly down onto the floor. And then just having a nice neutral spine for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to push down with the lower back, tilting that pelvis up, pushing up with the feet, allowing the bottom to come maybe a little bit higher if it wants to. And again, you should feel it engaging into the glutes here. You should maybe feel a little bit of tension in those quads as well, which means you're working, which is good. And then slowly releasing back down. Again, just try to bring the spine down really slowly, using a bit of control. And then coming to that nice neutral spine for a couple of breaths. And here you might want to bring your feet slightly further in if you want to. So again, we're going to push down with the lower back, just tilting that pelvis and see if we can bring the bottom off the floor again. See if you can come a little bit higher this time. And also see if you can bring those shoulder blades underneath the back And just see if you can touch the back of your heels with your fingers. Don't worry if you can't, you will get there. And again, just feeling that in the glutes and in the quads, keeping the breath really steady. And then very gently, just lowering yourself back down. And if you want to, just bringing those knees back into the chest again, just to release the lower back. Brilliant. So we're going to come onto all fours. So just rolling to the side, or you can just rock up into a seated pose and then coming onto all fours from that way. So if you've got issues with your knees, you can fold your mat up a little bit so you've got a bit of extra padding underneath those knees, or you can use a blanket, depending on what feels more comfortable for you. And also in terms of the fingers, making sure that your fingers are nice and wide, because that just helps spread the load of the weight going through the wrists again, so it just protects the wrists a little bit. Knees underneath your hips. So we're going to curl the toes under. I'm going to push back with the hands into a downward dog, bringing the knees off the floor. So again, it doesn't matter if the knees are bent or straight, you can just really see what feels right for you, depending on what time of day you're doing this practice. If you're a little bit first thing in the morning, like I tend to be, bending the knees is quite nice. Maybe having a wider stance with the legs is good as well, so you don't put too much pressure on those hamstrings first thing in the morning. Or if you're doing it later in the day, you're warmed up a little bit, you can maybe just play around with it a little bit. So we're going to bring the left foot now between the hands. So ideally, if you can, bring the left foot into the air, into a three-legged dog. And then we're going to bring the weight through the hands and bring the left leg through between the hands into a lunge. Now if that feels or looks a bit too hard, if you start from all fours, all you can do then is just bring the left leg through. It's exactly the same. So ideally we should be left with a nice lunge, so curling the back toes under, coming into a nice lunge. So what we're going to do now is walk the hands back, straightening that front left leg, bending over that front knee, and then bending that front knee again, just dropping the hips down, and then walking the hands back. And then dropping those hips down. Walk it back one more time. And coming into a lunge. Okay, so we're going to bring the hands off the floor, bringing them into the heart centre, into Anjali Mudra. So what you can do now is bring the arms above the head, and then bring the left hand onto the right wrist and just draw the whole body over to the left. Back to centre. Bring the hands back onto the floor. So I'm just going to step that back foot in just a tad, just so you can lower the back heel. And then we're going to come into Warrior Two. So get yourself positioned right first of all. So trying to make sure that you're putting the pressure on the back leg, onto the outside little toe side of the back leg, and then with the four corners of that front foot you're pushing down with them rather than putting the weight through the heel. Coming into Warrior Two. So we're going to bring the left forearm onto the left thigh. Just make sure you rotate that right shoulder up towards the ceiling. And bring the right arm overhead. So if you've got issues with your shoulders or sore in the shoulders, just keep your hand on your hip. You don't have to bring the arm up. And bring the top arm up towards the ceiling. And if you can, bring the left hand onto the floor. Just see if you can straighten that front leg into triangle. Slowly bend that front leg back into Warrior Two. Straighten that front leg. Bring the arms down and turn to face the front. So we're going to come into a nice forward fold now. So just hinging out those hips, keeping the chest nice and open. Maybe putting a little bit of a bend in those knees to protect the knees. Bring the hands down to the floor. So adjusting the feet if you're here. Just allowing the head to hang. And then we're going to walk the hands back over to the left side, rotating our left foot back into a lunge. So bring the hands onto the floor, bring the bring the back foot into another downward dog, pedaling those feet out. Okay, so we're going to do the same on the second side. I'm going to be facing the other way, unfortunately. I'm facing away from you now. So bring the right foot into the air, or you can just bring the knees down, bring the right foot through. In fact, I'm going to take this time to turn around. So either way, right foot through, curl the left toes under, bring the knee off the floor. Okay, so we're going to walk the hands back, straighten that right leg. Walking the hands forward, dropping those hips down. Walking the hands back. Dropping the hips down. One more time, walking the hands back, straighten the front leg. Walking the hands forward. Okay, so we're going to bring the hands off the floor, bring the hands into the heart centre. Bring the arms above the head. So we're going to grab hold of the left wrist with the right hand and draw the left hand over to the right. So we've got a nice gentle stretch to the left side of the body. Lowering the arms down. So we're going to just step that back foot in a little bit so we can get the heel down, or the heel down, coming to warrior two. So again, once you're here, just so you can adjust yourself a little bit if you need to. Heel the back heel out a little bit, making sure this knee stays, the front knee stays on this side of your ankle. Bring the arms up. So now we're going to bring the right forearm onto the right thigh. So the main thing is just trying to get the left side of the chest open up towards the ceiling. So really rotating the chest up. And if you want to bring the top arm overhead, you can. But again, if you've got issues with that left shoulder, just keeping it on the hips is absolutely fine. And we're going to bring the top arm up towards the ceiling. So this right hand can go just on the inside of that right shin, stretching the right leg open into triangle. And very gently bending the front knee, and back into warrior two. And then straighten the front leg. Bring both feet back to centre. Keep them nice and wide. Coming to a nice forward fold. Fingertips onto the floor. So again, you can just adjust the feet when you're here. You can walk the hands a little bit between the legs if you want to just drop down a little bit further. And slowly walking the hands back. So we're going to keep the hands on the floor, just heel toe the feet together. Staying in a nice forward fold, so fingertips onto the floor, bend the knees very gently. Just allow the head to drop, maybe just move the head from side to side. And slowly coming up to standing. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to close up the hips a little bit now. So we're going to bring the legs straight, so we're going to bring the left leg over top of the right. So closing up those hips, And again, hinging at those hips, we're going to come forward into a nice forward fold. So make sure you bend the knees enough, just so you bring the backs of the hands onto the floor. Allow the head to hang. Just really enjoy that lovely stretch on the back of the body. Slowly coming up to standing. On the second side. So bring the right leg over the left. Maybe a little bit of a bend in the knees, coming forward with a nice forward fold. Again, just bending the knees enough just so you can allow the fingertips to come onto the floor. So don't have your legs straight, just bend them a little bit. It also protects the back. Allowing the head just to settle down. I'm going to place the fingertips on the floor, bending the knees. Let's see if we can just allow ourselves down onto the floor. So again, you might want to bring the fingertips behind you so you can come back down into a nice cross-legged pose. So we're going to just take a few moments here just to allow ourselves to settle. Just bring those shoulder blades down the back. One journey, really just noticing any sensations, bring that awareness into the body again, just noticing where you feel certain points or certain things. Is there anywhere that your awareness is drawn to particularly? Maybe some heat somewhere or a slight bit of discomfort. Again, just having that awareness of that area and using the breath. Just noticing it and taking that time out. So from here you can go into a nice Shavasana if you want to do it, go into a meditation. But from there I'm going to wish you a namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm really hoping that you'll enjoy this nice practice. And again, just give yourself a little bit of gratitude for the fact that your body has achieved this really lovely stretching out practice. So until next time, see you soon. Bye bye.